Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter show powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show. Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo. Welcome aboard, everybody. I think this is our session 45, isn't it? Show 45.
Man, 45
Unbelievable. We've got away from it with it for this long.
Listen, I'm really looking forward to today's show. It's really the start of the autumn season, and now as we've entered into September, and
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Joe, steady on with those glitter balls you've got. I think as we've sort of had the end of summer, having had 7 days of over 30 degrees temperature in the UK, that's impressive. But now we're back to a bit of more wind and rain, so back to normal where I am, Joe, today. So here we go. Yes. So what are we talking about today, Joe? It's really excited about this session. Hopefully, we're going to entertain people.
Yeah, I think so. It's a hot topic, this. A lot of our clients I know are talking to us about business development at the minute. So bringing in new clients, differentiating yourselves with clients. But we mustn't forget the other side of this is candidates, and candidates are the lifeblood of our business. We would be nowhere without them. So we're going to focus on candidates today. The title for today's session is How to Attract the Top 10% of Candidates. But it's not always about recruitment, it's about retention as well. So we want to talk about how do I attract them? How do I engage them? How do I retain them? How do I build candidate loyalty? So there's 4 key elements, 4 key things we're going to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about is what do candidates really need from recruiters, which I think will be a good topic. Yeah. The second thing is what differentiates you from your competitors, and why is it important to differentiate ourselves from our competition? The third point is ways to position yourself as a candidate representative. So we're going to talk about how do I do that? How do you position yourself consultatively? And again, why is that important? And then finally, which I think has got a lot of people in here, is how do I get 96% retention rate from my candidates? So how do I get 96% of them to still be there 12 months later? And what does that mean to a candidate? And how can we, project that out into the marketplace and use that to engage with candidates? So basically, James, it's all about candidates today.
Good. Well, I mean, I think they're sometimes forgotten. And I think one of the things I'd like you to think about, if you're listening on this one, is think about what's your relationship like with candidates at this moment in time. And if you want a little reminder of this, just go to Google and type in, recruiters are. And you'll see some words pop up, which are is a representation of the perception of recruiters. And generally, recruiters don't have a great rep with candidates. And it's for all the reasons that we all know about in terms of, the fact that, recruiters often ghost candidates because they don't get back in touch with them and certain things like that. So, what you need to remind yourself is put yourself in the shoes of a candidate and remember what it was like when you were job hunting. If you've ever been in that situation, you might not be, you might have run your own business for a long time, so you might have forgotten that. But it's quite a traumatic time. It's quite emotional. It's quite stressful. And from that side of things, we have to then sort of, try and say, well, how can we alleviate that stress? How can we make the candidates? How can we show them that we care about them? And as we often say during some of our training programs, Joe, and obviously, as well as running the Retained Recruiter show, we do run the Retained Recruiter Academy, which is where we train lots of people. We say we quote them, something from Zig Ziglar, which is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And candidates, one of our little favourite sayings, candidates are clients in disguise. Yes. So it's important that we look after them. So why don't we just jump into the first thing, which is what candidates really need from recruiters?
Yes, absolutely. The thing to understand first, and I think we're all aware of this because we all talk about the active and passive marketplace, is what do you actually mean by candidate? So when I think of a candidate, I think of anybody who I would potentially place either now or at some point in the future. So that marathon mentality of some of the conversations I have with people right now are not going to be for opportunities right now. I'm going to want to build my network for the future. And that actually, statistically speaking, it fluctuates, but there's about 20% of the marketplace that are active candidates, so actively looking for a job right now. So what do they need from recruiters? They need a service that helps them to find the best opportunity for them right now. There's 80% of the marketplace that is passive, although I like to think that it's not all black and white. You know, there are various psychologies behind passive. What's very interesting, I think, is that what those people don't want is a job right now. So messaging them on LinkedIn relentlessly saying, James, I've got this great opportunity. I think you'd be great. I want to tell you all about it. 80% of the people you're messaging are just not interested in that. What 50%, this is really mathematical now, James. This is why I married an accountant, because this is not my forte. 50% of that 80% are open-minded to having conversations about potential opportunities, though. So we have to bear that in mind. Those people want conversation. They want consultation. They want us to show them the market. They want us to tell what's out there and what they could possibly get. But they want us to do it in a consultative and a confidential way. So I think understanding the psychology of different types of people, where do they sit on the iceberg? 20% active, 50% open to opportunities, open to having conversations, 30% super, super passive, not interested in having a conversation with you. Because once you start to understand that, you can start to tailor your communications and tailor your service to the different types of candidates.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I think say, what do candidates want from recruiters is they want to be treated like a human being.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like a commodity, and that's why I say, when you say you reach out to when you reach out to the passive market, which is a vast, people say, oh, I headhunt, I market map, I search. Yeah, but do you really, or do you spray and pray? Yeah. Listen, I'm not on the market, but I get, and I'm sure everybody listening to this, so sorry, it's not about me, but I get countless, LinkedIn messages about various opportunities. And if they've done any research on me, which they haven't, then they'd know that I'm in right at the bottom of your iceberg, Joe. At the part that says no, I'm not looking, because we run our own business and we do what we do. So that's important part of that. But people aren't doing the research, so they're just treating me like a commodity, and I think that's really important, because they don't feel any value in what you do. So yes, sure, the active people, they're hitting you. What do they want from you? They want you to put them forward to the job that you've actually presented to them. They saw you advertise it, be it on a job board, on your website, on a social post, whatever it happens to be. But the next people, when you get down to the next layer, and when you start to do your targeting, you have to be really careful in terms of what you're saying to those people, and your messaging needs to be spot on. They need to know, they need to have something that's going to encourage them, that's going to interest them, something that grabs their attention, because you need to be persuaded. And we speak to when we're doing our training programs, when we're running new courses for our intro clients, what we're finding there is that people saying, well, when I'm reaching out, and I said, well, what are you reaching out with? Because if your messaging is incorrect there, you're not showing them how much you care. You haven't told them that they're special. People want to be seduced. They want to be encouraged that, hey, I'm working with this client, got an amazing opportunity. Based on everything I've seen about you, this is why I think you'd be a good fit. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But if I'm right, let's have a conversation. I mean, they're not the words I'd necessarily use, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. So I think it's about not being treated like a commodity. You're making sure that you try and understand where they're coming from. You put yourselves in their shoes, and trying to appeal to their better nature to engage in that conversation. Because when you treat people as what they should be, that personal human being, rather than just a commodity, then you'll find that your results do start to change.
Yes,
that's the important thing.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that point. We're going to talk about this again in a bit more detail. May as well, in fact, we might jump to it now. So talking about ways to position yourself as a candidate representative. And I think what you're saying there, is, we talk about being client representative. So we find people for jobs in the very plainest form, but actually what we can do is we can flip that. And when we are going out to the candidate market, we find jobs for people. We find opportunities for really good people. Now, the only way you're going to be able to do that and cover your market effectively and be super useful and informative and insightful and useful for your candidates is if you're working a niche enough market that you could present multiple opportunities to a candidate at any one go. So I've got two or three particular specific live opportunities I like to talk to you about, but I am also working with a number of other firms in that particular space that I would love to present you to. So being able to take your candidate confidentially to the market, not just, I've got this great job that I think you'd be great for. Oh, fabulous. What about me? What about me as a candidate? And what do I want? So the conversations we have with candidates, they're very linear, aren't they? They're very, I've got a job. I want to qualify you to see if you fit in it. It needs to be more about what does the candidate want? Where does the candidate want to work? Where do they not want to work? And start working as a representative, drawing up a list of potential and suitable companies, and then taking your candidate to market, presenting your candidates to clients. I think as well, James, and I know you've got an opinion on this, the way that we represent our candidates to the marketplace needs to change. Asking people for CVs, of which only about 20 to 30% of the population have an up-to-date, relevant, current CV. So, and the people you're going to want to speak to are the ones that aren't really actively on the market, so they're not going to have an up-to-date CV. So asking for something that they probably don't have, that is 2 pages written by somebody, it's black and white, and it tells you what they've done, not how they've done it. It's a very two-dimensional way of taking that person to market, presenting them and representing them in the best possible way, isn't it? I don't know about you, James. I wouldn't want to just be reduced to 2 pages of text anymore, to be honest.
I'm not sure you can find 2 pages to write about me, Joe. But
I was going to say about me then. Fine, we could fall out here.
Yeah, Joe, I know we can. I mean, again, as recruiters, and there's 2 ways that we look at this. At iIntro, we spend a lot of our lives working on retained recruitment campaigns, and that's a slightly different process. And we'll come back to that as well with regard to how you're working with candidates on retained recruitment campaigns. But also, the fact is, we all operate databases, and we all have a number of candidates. Now, we can't, being realistic about this, we can't work with everybody. There's no way you can do that, but you can work with some of your candidates, because candidates are business, a part of your business development activity. They're what we use as recruiters to open the doors for opportunities out there in the marketplace. And so what you have to do is be very selective here, but identify, who are the candidates that you want to work with. And most people listening today will have heard the term most placeable candidate or most placeable candidates. And so what it's about saying is, well, how can I represent that candidate to the market? And sometimes it's not about finding the candidate who's going to make you the most money, but finding the candidate who is most placeable, so who is most in demand. So you will sometimes move that around. And when we push that out, Joe, there's a lot of people who just sort of take a profile, take a candidate, try and and jazz up something out of their CV and actually share with them that, hey, and push it out to the market. Well, we don't believe that's enough. So if you're going to differentiate yourself and show clients candidates, get my terminology right, show candidates how much you care, put some work in on their behalf. It will reap dividends further down the line, months and years in advance. And so, one of the processes we work with something called Talent Alerts, and our sister organization at iIntro is Talent Alert Pro, and people look at talentalertpro.com. And Talent Alert Pro actually takes your most placeable candidate and helps you showcase their career. So it becomes like the candidate's own portal. And this is an opportunity to represent them in the marketplace. And the analogy we often use, Joe, is Jerry Maguire. And when we say Jerry Maguire to people, everyone says the line that everybody remembers is, "Show me the money." But actually, it's not the line I really want you to focus on. And I want you to recognize that Jerry Maguire was a talent agent. He represented talent. He was a recruiter in all but name. And he was representing his most placeable candidate, a candidate called Rob Tidwell. And he pushed Rob out into the market. Yeah. And what he did is he represented him. So think about that in today's market. Here we are, 20 odd years later after Jerry Maguire. And the reality is, if that's all you're doing, pushing a candidate out with a bit of a text on an email, it's not really good enough. There are tools out there, and Talent Alert Pro is one of those tools which will help you represent the candidate. It'll help you profile the candidate and then represent them out into the marketplace in a far better way than just pushing out a bit of anonymized text. Now, confidentially as recruiters, that's how we have to represent candidates, because we don't want to be backdoored. We don't want people, clients sort of trying to second guess who our candidate is. So using some clever artificial intelligence, Talent Alert Pro will actually help you promote the candidate very visually, because visualization helps people, get more engaged, get more interested. It helps your business development process come to life. So what you're able to do is work with the candidate, build a profile with them, which can become their career portal in, not just the days and weeks you're going to be working with them, but in future years as well. Particularly if you're working in the temp or contract market, for example, you can reuse this every 6-9 months when they come back on the market. But you push them out there in a very clever way, using multiple layers of scientific and objective assessment to help potential employers get more interested. And by simply clicking on the link, employers will be taken to a representation of that candidate, which they cannot see. They cannot see until they log in, and they'll only log in if they've agreed and accepted your terms and conditions. It's a really clever piece of tech that's been built by recruiters for recruiters, but shows the candidate how you want to work with them. Now, you have to be careful. We haven't got all day to spend on candidates, all day, every day with one specific candidate. So you've got to be very judicious with your time to make sure you know. But with your best candidates, the ones who will later hopefully be clients for you, then it's going to be time very well spent, and which will pay back in the future.
And also, in recruitment, I think we're always talking in massive numbers, aren't we? Number of conversations had, number of candidates we need. We always think that it needs to be these massive numbers. But when you can simplify it and you boil it down, James, you might, depends on the size of the fee and the amount that of the target that you've got, or the amount of revenue that you wanted to bring in. But you probably only need to do 2 or 3 deals a month. So that's 2 or 3 really good candidates that you need to find. Approaching them with high quality and consistent approaches is going to help you to engage better candidates from that 50%. Remember that we were speaking about. Those are the people that you can get exclusively because they're not working with anybody else. And then once you've got them, you can take them to market. And you can find opportunities for those candidates rather than maybe the other way around, which is getting jobs and then trying to find candidates, which can be a lot harder. I wrote something down before, actually, that if people are thinking that this is all well and good, but I don't have time. I don't have time to spend all this time putting videos together about my candidates. Think about the amount of time you spend working with people who aren't getting jobs at the moment, or working jobs that you don't end up placing. Take that time and reinvest it into doing this, really getting out there and promoting your candidates. Another thing that people could have a think about is over the last 6 months, 6 months, some of those people might have gone, maybe over the last 3 months, think about all the candidates that you have worked with that haven't gone on to get the position that you put them forward for. What else have you done with them? This is a great opportunity. Go back to them all and say, look, I know you didn't get that opportunity, but hey, look, I'd really like to continue to work with you. I think you're great. I'd like to help you get your next opportunity. Let's draw up a list together of places that I can present you to. It's great for candidates. If you provide a great service to them, proactively ask for a referral, you're going to get well over 70% of the time, you're going to be able to get good candidates tend to know the good candidates. So it's good for candidate gen, good for BD. And it's really good for representing your candidates as well. The other point I was going to mention there is you meant, which I know we do, multiple layers of scientific and objective assessment, which we put candidates through in order to make sure that we put them forward for the right opportunity. This is a big point, isn't it, James? Because how many hours, probably even days, do candidates waste reviewing jobs that aren't right for them, going for interviews they never hear back from, going for interviews that aren't right for them? And is all of that something that, again, as recruiters, we need to be getting better at not wasting candidates' time by spraying them around all over the place?
Yeah, I think it comes down to that rep, and that's why we have the rep that we have. And so here, and one of our missions is to sort of try and improve that rep. And there's obviously lots of things you can do, but that representing candidates in that particular way, it does differentiate you from your competitors. As I say, you can't do it with every candidate, so you do have to be selective on that side of things. But you are showing them a different side to you, and obviously you are going to stay very communicative. So I say, whether you place them or not, it's showing them that you put some effort in. So it's not just their CV's gone into another database or another black hole and been forgotten about. So I think it's very important you can do that, because they will remember you. And here at our intro, what we have is, we've got many stories of our clients who've worked with candidates, on what we call campaigns, which are vacancies, on managed campaigns, where they've worked with candidates and given them that great experience that you're talking about, and have gone on to then work with that recruiter even when they haven't been placed by the recruiter, because the experience they've had says I like being dealt with that way. I'd like people who are going to come and work for me to go through that process as well. So I think it can work very, very well. Jeff, I can just talk about something else if you don't mind, and it's about differentiation. Mm-hmm. How we differentiate yourself from clients. The reality is, when recruiters are out there trying to attract candidates, they're up against the clock, Joe. So they're really working that way. And one of the things we do at iIntro is obviously we help clients transition their business to becoming more consultative than they currently are or believe they are. And that process then generates different types of relationships with employers. Mm-hmm. And it's when you have that relationship with the employer, one of the challenges that we face is obviously showing that employer what's our candidate engagement process. Because what makes us different? Because every recruiter walks in and says, "Hey, I've got access to a great database. It's called LinkedIn." But they can find those candidates. But if we've all got the same database, what's gonna make it appeal? And so one of the critical tools that we use at iIntro whilst this shows the potential employer what we do, we then move this. I'm going to move this around to the candidate, because that's what we're talking about today: how to track the top 10% of candidates. Is we work with something called a candidate briefing pack, and it's a document that showcase. I'll probably use that word too many times today, but it showcases the opportunity and puts all of the information about the organization, the role, the company, the process, the timescale for the recruitment process. It puts all of that information at the fingertips of the candidate. And the reason why we share with the client, so this is our engagement process, because when we work with an organization on a retained assignment, we act as an extension of that company in the marketplace. We're part of their brand going out there. So we show it initially as part of our sales pitch to employers, but then we use that equally with candidates when we're actually trying to show them that, this is the company we're representing. This is what we want you to be interested in. Hopefully it's exciting and interesting enough for you to, engage back with me. Because obviously getting candidates to get back in touch with you can be that challenge as well. And one of the statistics that we use heavily across our platform is that the methodology and process that we put through our iIntro clients, generates a 96% success rate for the clients, the employers that we work with. Now, the flip side of that, the positive side of that, not the flip side, but the other side of that we use, and again, this is one of those things which attracts candidates to you, is that the way that we assess and evaluate candidates using the information that we've shared with them in the candidate briefing pack, we tell them that 96% of candidates we place that are going through this process, like you potentially will be if you engage with me, it's going to prove to be the right career move for you, because nobody wants to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. Yeah, they want to make sure. So we're able to, share with them information in a very different way that shows them how much we care and how careful we are about moving them, because it is that fear that we have. And I know, that the market's moved on from where it was in some respects, but markets are always challenging in one way or another. And what you have to do is represent both your own brand, your client's brand, to share with the candidate, so that you can show them it's a good move.
Yes, absolutely. I'm amazed at how many recruiters, when we talk to them about a candidate briefing pack or candidate brochure, which basically takes that job description from the client and turns it into a full color brochure about the company and the opportunity, and then about your process as a recruiter. And it's so informative that when you give that to a candidate, I mean, what do we normally give to candidates as recruiters? We give them a link to the website and we give them a job description. If you're wanting to attract the top 10% of candidates, which is what we're talking about today, then are they going to be attracted by, again, 2 bits of paper, a boring job description? Yes, everybody wants to know what they're going to do, but the vast majority of people want to know what they can become. What am I going to gain? What are the benefits to me of this opportunity in this role? So a candidate briefing pack is a great way of engaging candidates into process and engaging candidates into opportunities. But it's a great tool to use to get your value proposition out there. What is it that you do for candidates that helps them to make more informed choices and get better and have access to better opportunities? Think about your service methodology. Think about what you do with candidates that's confidential and consultative and different, and provides value and provides choice and provides insight and provides education, that sort of stuff, if you can stick that into, get it into a PDF, you know, that's your shop window for candidates. And Plummer's put a great point in, you know, volatile markets, great candidates are more reluctant to move. Absolutely. Doesn't mean that they won't move. It just means that they're more reluctant. Some markets will see candidate droughts, you know, the vast majority of the time they are there. They're just really well hidden. So digging deep, being proactive, you know, consistent, high quality messages, personal tailored messages out to people that you want to speak to, not necessarily about jobs right now, but having private, confidential conversations about potential future opportunities. Your profile looks fantastic. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Start conversations with people like that, but be aware that they probably won't engage with you in that first email or that first message or that first voicemail that you leave with them. A number of touches over a period of time is what's going to help to engage this top 10% of people into having conversations with you. Now, candidate briefing packs, value proposition, your service methodology, all this stuff that you can get out there into the marketplace to promote you and advertise you to the candidate market, to show that you're different, to show that you do things in a different way. You need to be doing a lot of that in order to start to get some of these candidates to have conversations with you. But if you do that, it would be perfectly realistic to think that you'd be able to find and place an extra 2 unique candidates a month just by being more proactive, more qualitative, and more bespoke in your approach.
I think as well, Joe, you know, when we talk about the value proposition that we're offering, it's the difference between DIY and DFY. Do you want to be a DIY recruiter, so you make the candidate do all the work themselves? That's why, you know, when we show recruiters on the Retained Recruiter Academy through the intro platform, you know, this is what we do. You know, this might not be on the academy, but sometimes in the presentations we do before they become clients, cynically say, well, they can find all that information themselves. Well, that's DIY. When you care about the candidates, you have a DFY service, a done for you service, and that's what we do. You know, we're providing a different class of service to our candidates because we're not treating them like a commodities. And it's like saying, do you want to fly with Ryanair or do you want to fly with Emirates? Yeah, in terms of, you know, the quality proposition, both are going to get you there. Yeah, but the reality is, which one would you prefer to fly with, given the choice? And we can sort of do that particular. Now, one little Plummer's just to give us a little mention there. Please mention the value to recruiters, and he's mentioned the name Peter Van Steen. Well, the name is now out there, so I just want to sort of share with you the process by all these multiple touch points that we're talking about, Joe. When we're working with candidates and showing them how much we care. So the story, and I alluded to this earlier on, but Plummer's obviously telling me, hey, tell people a bit more, so you make the story a bit more real and give some value to it in terms of monetary value. So I'm going to give you a story, and it's about. One of our team, co-founder of iIntro, a guy called Paul Hickey, who runs a business called Grass Greener Group. And Paul was working with, he's working on a campaign for an organisation, and he made the placement. It was a retained recruitment assignment. Obviously, you know, that's what we do. He did that, and you know, the silver medal candidate was a guy called Peter Van Steen, and but he didn't get the job. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Paul worked with the candidate to help him find another job, because, you know, maybe that's what he should have done, but that isn't what he did, because Peter was in the market. He was active. So he actually was active in finding a job, and he actually got placed by Corn Ferry. He was quite a senior candidate. So, and you know, he got the job, and obviously, as a good recruiter that Paul is, he followed him in and said, "Congratulations, Peter, well done." And Peter said, "Listen, Paul, I really enjoyed working with you and the team at Grass Greener. The way you looked after me as a candidate was the first time I felt looked after and cared for and loved by a recruiter." Yeah. And he said, he said, I'm probably going to have the chance to work with you guys again in the future. Paul said, "Well, you're not going to be a candidate straight away." He said, No. I've been put into this role, and I'm going to be building a European sales team for this organisation based in Holland. Yeah, Paul is based in the north of England, in Leeds. So you might think, why would you work with Paul? Well, it was that experience that he had. And Paul said, "Well, why not working with the recruiter who placed you?" And he said, "Well, I was placed by Corn Ferry, and, you know, I just happened to be the right guy in the right time, in the right place. You know, they really didn't do anything for me. Their focus was all on the client, not me, the candidate. Yours showed me how much you cared." And then over a period of 2 or 3 years, Paul then went on to do over £200,000 worth of business with that company. So that's what can happen to you when you show some interesting candidates. So that's what you've got to do to show, and you've got to get, we'll focus on getting client testimonials. Well, get some candidate testimonials as well. Get them
Yes.
on your website, show people how much work you do for candidates, because it will separate you from the crowd. So have we started to answer our questions? What are the things we want to say? 96% retention rate. I sort of said that tonight. I sort of touched on that before. I want to make sure.
I mean, we have a 96% retention rate at iIntro, so 96% of the people that we place are still there a year later. It doesn't really go down that much for 2 years later either, but that doesn't just happen by chance and circumstance. It happens because our clients get to know the candidates. We use, like you said before, objective assessments to make sure that not only the clients are making the right decisions, but that the candidates are making the right decisions as well. So it's not going to scare your candidates off. I think we worry that we headhunt these candidates and then we're like, oh, quick, send you a job spec, and then you see if you want to go for it. Actually, consulting with the candidate and then making sure that they're making really good you're helping them to make the most informed choice that they can for, like you said, their next career move. That's really important. And in a time when most of our marketing, most of our sales, most of our social media work is all designed around finding new clients, we should really be thinking about, where are our candidate shop windows? What are we doing to attract candidates? What are we doing to build networks of candidates for the future? Talent banks for the future. How many conversations do you have a week with people who aren't actively looking right now, or maybe aren't right for what you've got right now, but I'm going to have a conversation with them anyway, because the first conversation is always the hardest, so it may as well be now. And then you've got that first conversation under your belt for in the future when you do have an opportunity for them. So, and we've got some great tech nowadays. I know that Finn, our marketing director, has got a great saying, which is validate before you automate. And I'm a massive fan of that. It's still a contact sport. We've got some great tech at our disposal. We can reach more potential candidates now than we ever have been able to in the past. And so we should be doing that. I'm not going to be all 80s about it and shout that everyone needs to get on the phone, but we certainly need to be having dialogues with people, really consultative dialogues with potential candidates.
Well, yeah, we have had a little bit of a whistle-stop tour there, and I want to keep this one short and sharp today, because everybody, I think, does understand the importance of working with the best candidates and how to attract those candidates. And what I hope we've highlighted today is that some of the things that you can do to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, how you can make yourself more attractive to candidates, how you can use your statistics to sort of share with candidates in terms of what they can do. So that 96% success rate that we're so proud of at iIntro, means a lot to candidates as well, because it means we move them to the right careers. How we can help them validate their own career by actually sort of showcasing their talent, putting it out there and making sure we put them into the right job, even if we're pushing them into the market, as well as putting them forward for retained assignment campaigns. If you've not yet had a chance to have a look, go and have a look at our sister company, www.talentalertpro.com. This is World Wide Web. How old am I?
Aged yourself by about 50 years there, James. Well done.
But more importantly, listen, we work with many organizations here at iIntro.com. Book some time with us, have a free confidential conversation with us. And then obviously, if you become a client of us, you can work with us on the Retained Recruiter Academy, where we help you with all things training and support and coaching on how to make your business, stand out from the crowd, how we help you transition from being a transactional business to more of a consultative business. And Joe guides you through all of that so expertly. So we hope to able to get to see you again. So Joe, anything else to add before we go?
My only parting comment really is, I think we've talked a lot about what could you do to candidates to provide a better service. Easiest thing to do is ask them. Ask your candidates. Go to all your placed and not placed candidates. Don't definitely go to the ones that you didn't place, because they're probably going to be more candid. But go back to all your candidates, and just ask them, do a service check. What was great? What could have been better? What do other people do that we could do? What would be excellent if we provided it as a service? Do you know what? Your candidates will tell you everything you need to know about what they want and how to make your service better. So just start asking the question.
Brilliant as ever, Joe. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We look forward to see you again. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Some excellent guests coming up in the future as well. So please do look out for those. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rain, everybody.
See you soon.
Bye.
Yo.